You're listening to Paratalk Radio with Ted Wolf and Rebecca Bruno on Paratalkradio.com. Paratalk Radio is your one stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. We cover topics such as hauntings, ghosts, spirits, energies, Bigfoot, aliens, UFOs, and more.
Paratalk Radio is a product of Genesee Valley Paranormal Investigators at gvpi.org. Paratalk Radio is on every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central.
And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Mixler, and YouTube. Just search for Paratalk Radio. Or you can go to facebook.com/Paratalk Radio or Mixler.com/Paranormal Talk. Paratalk Radio is recorded and produced in Ontario, New York at J. Wolf Productions and engineered by John Winter. You can contact us by email at tedgvpi@gmail.com.
All right, John, hit him with the disclosures.
Some of the topics, discussions, and opinions expressed on the show may not be representative of Paratalk Radio, our hosts, or our sponsors.
Wait, that's some shit.
Some of the language on this show may not be suitable for listeners under 16. And now, here are your hosts, Ted and Rebecca.
Woo. Awesome.
Hey.
Hey, everybody. How is everybody tonight? Hopefully very well. So some of them are watching. I was trying to hook up the Periscope because I've been trying to get us to get on that Periscope feed. And I know Cora and a few of them were over there. And unfortunately, no matter what I do, the thing shuts off like after 5 to 10 minutes, and I don't know why. So I got to look into that some more and see what's going on. Kristen, thank you for the birthday wishes. Helen, thank you for the birthday wishes. All of you, thank you so much. Dave, I see you on there, stuff like that. And Mixler, Keith, it's finally nice to see you. You did not show up at the Winter Parafest yesterday. I am so sorry you were sick.
Now I'm sick.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sick people that showed up to the Parafest.
So if you missed it, I mean, but still, for the weekend, we had all that snow that hit, and then everybody was talking about the weather and talking about, we're getting 12 to 16 inches of snow, nobody's going to want to come out, we had vendors cancel and stuff like that, but it turned out to be a beautiful day, sunshine, the roads were great, we had a lot of really cool vendors.
Yeah.
I
spent so much money.
Did you?
Yeah.
And, it was great because Sherry from Demon Productions was there. She dressed you up as a zombie. It was great.
I was half dead. I had half my face zombified.
Yeah. She was doing it for a lot of people up there. And Sherry's really cool. She's usually found in a lot of the extras. She does a lot of the extras. Like she's a zombie in the movies as an extra.
She was so cool.
Her and Frank both. So it's very cool to see somebody like that around doing that. And, of course, we had Daniel Klass, who is he's good friends with Nick Groft, and they were on he was on, Paranormal Lockdown with him. He was there yesterday selling his book, talking about the house, did his lecture. It was just amazing. There was a lot of people. And
what about Michael Keene?
Oh, Michael Keene is one of my favorite authors in the whole world. He's amazing.
All right, so Kathy's on here. Kathy bought his book, the one that I was going to get, and she's like, after I'm done reading it, I'll let you read it. I was like, oh, yes.
He's just an amazing author. I mean, he's one of those guys that, whether it's paranormal or like he wrote a book on female serial killers.
That's awesome.
That's an unbelievable, thing. And
I love creepy history.
Right. Well, and he did a lot of them. He did the insane asylums. He did all that stuff. And this guy, he spends maybe half a year or the whole year researching this stuff and actually going to these places and digging in to get the information, the background, all that stuff to make his books what they are. Fantastic.
Well, just talking to him, he was so educated.
He's just an amazing guy. Every Parafest, now that was our 4th annual. Next year for the 5th annual, we're actually going to move it to February because we don't want to compete with the Super Bowl. So it's going to be towards the end of February. We don't want to compete with the Super Bowls with the playoff games. And also, that psychic fair was going on, and there was something else going on too. So, with the weather and all those little things, that all came into play. So we're going to try and get away from it all, and see what happens.
But we had Channel 10 News there, though.
That was great. When you have CBS, I think it's CBS, right? Is it there? CBS News. They were there. That was great. There was a lot of different things. The radio show, like having Paratalk Radio live there, everybody loved it.
That was so cool.
it was great to have stuff like that. So
I liked when we, like, our song came on and everything, like our little introduction song, and then we were like, hey, everyone was like, woo! And I was like, oh my gosh.
it was great.
This is so cool.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was very, very cool.
I was like, do people clap in their living rooms when we come on?
Well, let's get out here and let's say hi to some of these people that have popped on. We've got Keith Spradley, Darlene Morehouse, Lulu Wolf, and Jay Marble over here on Mixler. There's a couple more popping in. I can't see everybody, unfortunately. Of course, Cora, Kristen,
Michelle Childers.
Cookie. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people in there. Dave. I mean, they're just.
Helen wished you happy birthday.
Yeah, they're all just coming in, piling in a little bit at a time. So, I've been waiting for this guest to actually to get him here. This is an amazing birthday gift for me. I told him too. I sent him a message. I said, "Hey, you're my birthday gift." He never replied, but I'll tell you. Let me introduce him first. And so I'm so.
Wait, it was my birthday Saturday. Does that mean he's my birthday gift?
Yeah, he's our birthday gift.
I've
How
been
about
really
that?
excited about this.
So we have Steve Gonsalves from Ghost Hunters, SYFY's Ghost Hunters. He's here with us tonight. How you doing, Steve?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Good. Just so you know ahead of time, we've got several platforms that we're recording on, and we have chat rooms. So from time to time, we might be asking you questions. A lot of people like the Facebook feed because they can see the video of us as well. But we're going to pull them from different areas throughout the night, and then we'll go from there. But welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Excited to be here. I think it's going to be fun.
I think so, too. You know, we had Dustin a while back. Him and Tim Shaw were going back and forth on the show. And Dustin is just an amazing guy. We love him.
Yeah, Dustin's a very cool fella.
Yeah, we love him to death. So
See, Steve's been like the day one though. Like ever since I started, like Ghost Hunters was like the first real like ghost show I ever started watching on TV.
Yeah.
And like Steve was like my day one. Like he's my homie.
No, Steve, you're her homie.
Hey, thanks. I like that. It's better than the opposite. Gee, that guy really sucks. That'd be terrible.
So, I mean, I know I have a ton of questions. I'm sure Becca's got a ton of questions, and we're going to be getting them from all the people that are out there. Hello, Diane. It's nice to see you on there. Michelle and everyone. Shout out to Steve from Colorado, it says, from the Stanley Hotel.
Whoa. Hey, are they at the Stanley right now?
Yeah, apparently, or something
Or they
like that.
just-
So, yeah,
wow.
that's cool. Cora's like, wave
Love
to
that.
Steve from Texas.
All right.
We got
Texas. Love Texas.
Oh, yeah, me too. You know, what is this? What is Cora talking? Snatches the cookie?
Oh, she's snatching my cookie.
Oh, she's trying to take your
I
cookie.
have on the table.
Oh, nice. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
She also. Oh, hello from Chicago. So you got fans all over the place. Keith over here on Mixler. He's like, will Steve spill the goods? The truth about Tango.
Hello, Tango.
I like Tango. Too.
Tango is, no truth to be spilled about him. He's the coolest guy on the planet, and that's at value. No hidden agenda there. No beans to spill on Dave Tango.
Tango and the Bedpan? What is that all about?
They must be referring to West Virginia. We investigated the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Okay.
And I was able to get Tango. I found a bedpan that was buried under some rubble that had been used and not cleaned.
Oh, gross.
But clearly, a good 100 years old or something. And I somehow got him to stick his face in it and take a nice big deep breath.
Oh, that's gross.
He'll do just about anything for $20.
I was going to ask what would he do? I mean, you're kind of an instigator with stuff, but they've gotten you back quite a few times too. So, but I was going to ask that, and that's funny because I think now that's going to be my favorite story about Tango. So I don't have to worry about that.
Man.
So. That's unbelievable. But I gotta.
But that's the bedpan story.
Oh, we got people from Canada on here.
Nice.
Bradley Monks.
Hey.
Hello from SAM Paranormal from Canada. Wow, cool.
Nice.
Hello. Paranormal groups in Canada. I think we air on Space Channel in Canada, or OLN, one of those. One of those two.
Yeah, Michelle Childers goes,
Oh, the bedpan there.
Yeah.
Well, stuff like that happens. Well, when we interviewed Dalen Spratt from the Ghost Brothers, and they talk about stuff like that too. I mean, those guys are just a riot. I mean, when you're doing these things and you've got a TV crew, following you around, I mean, how can you be serious 24/7? Seriously. I don't.
Yeah. You can't be, and you're not. Even if you don't have a camera crew, as a paranormal investigator, if you take yourself too seriously, you're just gonna, get burnt out and end up with a big chip on your shoulder and all this weird stuff that comes with thinking you're a little too big for your britches, I suppose.
Yeah. I guess that's true.
I can see.
I mean, there's just so much out there. I mean, I love watching the shows, and Ghost Hunters was one of my favorite shows. I mean, if you think about going back to some of the very first episodes, and then when God, I'm drawing a blank now. Grant left and stuff like that, and trying to figure out. I think a lot of people were trying to figure out who was going to be the next Grant, who was going to take his spot. And right off the bat, I'm like, Steve's going to be the next guy. I know Steve is. I mean, he was. What was the guy? God, no, I can't think of his name.
Early days.
Yeah, the early days. When he was
Brian.
in charge of you, was sound like he was your boss for a while there, and then he started screwing up, losing stuff, and.
Yeah, it was Brian.
Brian. That's right. Yeah. And I remember my brother and my friends, we were arguing, oh, Brian's going to be that, Brian's going to be... I'm like, you guys are crazy. No.
Yeah, and Brian was long gone before Grant left.
Yeah.
And Brian had already been gone for many, many years. Yeah.
I don't want to sound like...
It was sad when Grant left.
Well, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but everybody... I mean, if you were sitting on the other side watching what was going on, you kind of knew that he was a oddball. I guess the best way. Polite way. I don't know what else to say. I don't want to make enemies. I'm just saying, I only have one enemy. That's it. I only have one.
Yeah, Ted has a very pronounced enemy that we want to get on the show to interview.
Yeah, well, that ain't going to happen. But,
now all the jokes are going to start flowing in on here. Oh, goodness gracious.
Nice, Keith. He's talking about paranormal poop. I don't even want to know what that is. I don't even want to know. Nope. Keith Spratley, Steve, is actually an author from the UK, and now he lives in the United States. And him and I actually just collaborated on a book that we released in December. So he's a card. He used to work for the Department of Defense over there in the UK. He's a very cool guy.
Okay.
Big paranormal medium.
Tell him I said hi.
And he actually is watching, so he can hear you, which is very cool. So let's start back from the beginning. Now, how did you actually get involved with Ghost Hunters, if you don't mind me asking?
No, yeah. Ghost Hunters, the TV show, it's, I was already a TAPS member. We had TAPS was a team already in existence long before the show. And, when we first got the show, we're going back, 2002, there were only maybe 5 or 6 paranormal groups in the entire country, and we all knew each other. And we disproved a haunting in a court of law. And TAPS had already done, MTV Sphere, Jay, would set up where the kids would go, all that stuff. And I've been, Scariest Place on Earth, all those fun shows. And we disproved a haunting in a court of law. And there was an author with us, Jody Picoult was with Jason and Grant. And from there, the story went on what's called The Wire, which is like sort of the across-the-board news source. And we started getting, production companies contacting us saying, we can't believe that there are even groups that do this. This is crazy to us. We want to make this a TV show. And we said no for about 3 years. We just kept saying no. We're plumbers, and I was a cop. We were not TV people. We didn't even see how this could be, because then there were no TV shows about the paranormal. There are shows like Sightings and that sort of thing, which may show a paranormal investigation here and there, but it wasn't like following teams around, that sort of thing. We just didn't know how what we did could be a TV show. You know, as you know, doing it, we were basically just in the dark for 9 hours, silent. You know,
Right.
how does that make a TV show? So we said no for many years, but eventually we came around, and the production company said, you know, this, you know, we don't know what could happen, but don't you want to be the team that sort of, you know, we're going to do it with or without you guys at this point, you know, and you have the opportunity here to, you know, show the world what you guys are doing, you know, and so we eventually decided to do it, and that was in 2002. We said okay, and then the show started airing in 2004, and even then, you know, we said, well, it'll be something fun to, you know, show our kids or our grandkids or whatever. As a little, we didn't think it would go, you know, 15 years or whatever, but it was good, you know, and to be the first. You know, we were the first show like that, and then 3 or 4 years later, Paranormal State came around, and then, you know, a year or two after that, you had Ghost Adventures and a few of the other shows. But it was very interesting, to be on the, you know, the sort of the spearhead of that sort of boom there.
You know, what was
so that's
kind
how
of
it came around.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you guys first came out, I was actually watching another show, and it was actually called Most Haunted. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, of course,
so,
yeah.
and that, Keith, keep your mouth shut, Keith. Oh, my goodness, he's starting troubles. What do you think? He had to mention his name. But anyway, so I was always into stuff like that.
He probably knows him the best.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, watching Most Haunted, it was one of my favorite shows because there wasn't any type of ghost hunting show like that, like yours. You know, you guys were the first. You guys kind of were the, like you said, the spearhead. You put yourself out there and you went for it, and it was great. And you guys had millions of fans. I mean, it was.
You guys sparked my interest as a kid.
Yeah. What do you? Yeah, because what? 2002. How old were you?
Oh gosh, I didn't watch it when it aired in like 2004, I think. So I was probably about 7 or 8.
Microphone.
7 or 8.
Okay.
I want to say. But then, like, once I moved out to New York with my mom when I was 14, it was like we were watching it every single week when a new episode aired.
Right.
We'd watch it, and we were watching it as religiously as one would watch, like, I don't know,
Grey's Anatomy or something like that. Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy, or not
Yeah.
Grateful Dead, Walking Dead,
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy and stuff. So, yeah, we were making it like a weekly ritual to watch it.
I know a lot of people where there was house parties, like where I live, there was actually people getting together and having house parties. In fact, I went to a couple of them. Oh, they're getting
Like
they're coming
Valley?
up. Yeah, so they all get together. They had pizza. They would get the beer, and everybody would sit around and get in front of these big screen TVs, you know. And it was amazing. It was a lot of fun. In fact, one of my favorite episodes was, I believe it was The Lighthouse, and I can't remember which one, but there was a chair that moved upstairs. You could probably refresh my memory.
I remember that one. Oh God, I can't remember where the heck it was though. But I remember what you're talking about.
Well,
yeah.
I remember Grant was sitting up in the attic with the chair, and then he left, and somehow that chair moved afterwards. Do you remember what we're talking about, Steve?
Yeah, it's Race Rock Lighthouse, season 1. I think it's episode 2, maybe, or 3.
Yeah.
Season 1. I wasn't on that investigation. I was still a police officer at the time, and I couldn't get the weekend off of work, believe it or not.
Where were you a police officer at?
Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts.
Oh.
I thought they were from Massachusetts. I was trying to remember. So I'm from New Hampshire originally. So I have a lot of family in Boston.
The team based out of Rhode Island. So we're all New England gals and guys. Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, because I feel like out of all the shows, they've done more New England hauntings than most of the other shows, especially like in New Hampshire and Vermont and stuff.
Yeah, we're always kicking around New England.
What?
There's someone. I have a question.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So you guys are always kicking around New England. What's some of your favorite places to investigate around there?
Well, it's you know, I like all the staples. You know, of course, Lizzie Borden House is always fun, and the Mark Twain House. A lot of places that I investigate. You know, that people probably shouldn't hit up, like Dudleytown in Connecticut, that sort of place. But New England has a lot of a lot of fun place. The Anawan Rock is another place that we've had some a good degree of activity. But yeah, in New England, I like the old
in New Hampshire?
bed and breakfast and inns.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, New Hampshire. Got Mount Washington Hotel. That place is awesome. That's right in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire.
There's some places I like. I need to explore.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The town I grew up in Keene. And
oh yeah, I know Keene.
And there's a lot of historical buildings there, and there's like a lot of historical relevance there too. So the part of Keene I grew up in was a very historical area, and I don't know, like there was like a little white church and stuff, and a covered bridge, and a library that was in,
A little
the
white church, really? A
1700s.
little white church.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking? Little white church.
What? Oh, that song?
You're a singer, and I'm
Take
saying
me
little.
down to the little white church. That song?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
But yeah, like even just walking the streets at night as a kid, I would always like experience like it would feel like somebody was walking behind me. I hear footsteps. There's old cemeteries around my house.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a cool place to
Little
grow
New
up
England.
and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of places in New England. Fun little graveyard. I mean, I wouldn't investigate graveyards, but a lot of fun little places to get into. But don't break and enter. Don't try to go to these places that you're not supposed to be. So you'll get in trouble.
That's right. You don't break into places. You follow rules. I mean, some of the paranormal groups are out there, or ghost hunting groups. Like with GVPI, we have a standard set of bylaws and rules that say you don't, cross the line. You don't, break into places. You don't run. You don't. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you get in there.
There's so many places that we want to investigate out here that people just simply will not let anybody investigate. It sucks because it's like.
It's because they got that ick factor, and you kind of look at the place and you're like, oh man, that place has got to be haunted. I want to go in it, you know. But some places just don't. They don't allow you.
Gardens or George
and stuff like that. I mean, the state itself, like the state of New York, they have they'll tell you if it's owned or ran by the state of New York, they tell you have to have insurance, and some. It just recently started to coming around to where you could get insurance for your paranormal group or ghost hunting groups. That just, recently changed. Before, it was like if you were a photographer and you were with the paranormal group, you could get insurance for the photography part, but, and that kind of covered you for liability or stuff, but that was pretty much it. It wasn't, I don't know, it's weird the way things happen. Like you guys, like with Ghost Hunters when it came on, sure, I mean, after... There was 5 or 6 groups, like you were saying. There was actually more than that, but they weren't listed. They weren't nobody knew about them, And I ran into a couple people, and parapsychologists too. And, but either way, you guys kind of opened it up so that these groups could stop, hiding and come out and be more vocal about the stuff like that. So it was great. And then, like you said, Paranormal State, and then I'm not going to mention the other one, but... Ghost Adventures, but there was a few. There was because now there's Haunted Towns. There was Ghost Asylum. I mean, there was so many ghost hunting shows. I think there was 10 or 12. Anytime you turned down the TV, there was one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of come and gone. I think last count we had there were over 34 shows that popped up within a 4-year period.
Wow, that's a lot.
But yeah, there were groups. I mean, there was listings you could find. There were teams around, but the vocal teams, there are about 5 or 6 in the country.
Yeah.
DC metro area ghost watchers, and of course TAPS, and then there was the John Zaffis group.
Yep.
They were kicking around. Spirit Paranormal was around,
I'm just thankful that you guys, took the chance and went. I mean, it was just, it's opened up doorways, and that's what we needed. You know what I mean? And with that, I mean, a lot of things came with it. A lot of other things. I mean, look at what happened. I mean, these companies that were making certain items. I mean, pretty much, if you guys didn't come on TV and do Ghost Hunters and do this stuff. Some of these other manufacturers that create tools that you use or these groups use or anything like that wouldn't even exist at this time. So you guys actually helped the field there also,
Yeah, we did. New York Times did an article about our show, in 2005, I think it was, or 2006, and credited our show with a boom in electronic sales across the world, actually, which was kind of crazy. You know, we were airing in 170 countries, or still airing in 170 countries, and they saw electronics, you know, voice recorders, all of this stuff just started going crazy, and it was interesting to see. It really was.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess Becca's got a couple questions on.
We have a flood of questions.
You have a flood of questions. Well, if you ready to answer some questions there, Mr. Steve?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
All right. Here's an easy one. This is pretty much a yes or no question. Do you guys plan on putting your TV? I don't even know if that works that way, but do you guys plan on putting your TV show on Hulu so Cora can start watching them again? She wants to see all the episodes.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to streaming, it's completely out of our hands. It has to do with, contracts and that sort of thing. When we left SYFY, they were very angry with us, and they refused to air anything. So they don't have any reruns. They took everything off their streaming. You know, they don't. So for we did that a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I think, a year and a half ago. So ever since then, they've pretty much put us on lockdown. You can only buy the DVDs on websites and Best Buy, and every once in a while I see them in like a Walmart or something. But as soon as those contracts are done, they should start seeing them pop up on streaming services and that sort of thing. But that's all SYFY. They put us on lockdown. They're not happy with us, so they basically have the thought process of, well, then nobody is going to see this show ever again if you're going to leave our network. That kind of thing.
Is that what
they'll eventually be out?
Is that what happened, Steve? Was because you guys left the network? I'm not trying to pry, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, people want to know. I mean, was there a press release of why you guys stopped working together?
I was so sad when it ended.
Yeah, no, I mean. To be honest, this is exactly how it went down. SYFY, obviously, you know, they were great to us, and still, you know, I have yet to meet somebody that works at that network who, the president was one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. Like, it was awesome. But they started getting a little funny with their airing schedules, and just kept sort of using our show as a way to launch other shows, which is fine, you know, but. Then they just started I don't even know. It just got to the point where, like, you know, they wanted another season, and I guess the contracts with the production company were, didn't have to be renewed, and so we decided not to, and they weren't happy about that. And, Jay sort of put a bit of a release out himself saying, hey, we've left SYFY. This is why. And I think they were mad at that, too, because they probably should have been the first ones to sort of be like, hey, Ghost Hunters is no longer on our network or whatever. But other than that, that's exactly how it went down, yeah. And luckily, the production company, Pilgrim Films, they love the show. It's their show. They own it. Jay, of course, he helped created it and that sort of thing. But in terms of that, they are pretty, Ghost Hunters will return. We wouldn't have left, SYFY if we didn't have a roadmap for the show, that sort of thing. But yeah, those wheels are all turning, and very sad situation how it went down, but that's basically it in a nutshell.
I got one here from Mixler. Any chance of a Ghost Hunters and Haunted Collector crossover?
Well, that would be amazing. John Zaffis, very, very good friend of ours. He's somebody I look up to, and someone who I've looked up to since I was, 13 years old. Honestly, I'd go see him talk, and the Warrens, and I always looked up to John Zaffis. But he's been on our show.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
Before Haunted Collector, he was on our show, and I've investigated with John before Ghost Hunters, so we've known John for a long time, and any chance that we can work together, we will, for sure. So a crossover show would be amazing. Sadly, neither of our shows are currently filming, so I don't know how we would do that. But
right. Well, There's a ton of people that still follow ghost hunters and like the fan page and stuff like that, and all the events that you guys go to. I mean, it's very, very cool to see the amount of. It's almost like going to a Star Trek convention. To be honest with you, there's that many people that love ghost hunters.
I love
it's very
ghost
cool.
hunters.
Yeah,
We're very
Somebody
fortunate.
said I
You know,
cried when the show was over.
Yeah, very, very fortunate that 15 years later, we're still sort of, you know, when somebody mentions paranormal or ghost hunters, we're still the show they think of. We're still the ones that they, you know, looked at it as sort of putting it on the map. And we're very fortunate. You know, we'll do an appearance or an event like you said. They all sell out. If we do a signing at we did Rhode Island Comic Con in November, and we still had thousands of people come and hang out with us. And very fortunate. But it's easy to look at it like it's something in the past, but really our last episode just aired a year ago, you know, which really isn't that long ago. So we've only been out of the eye for a year,
right.
Which really isn't, in the scheme of television and how long we were on the air for, really isn't enough time for people to forget about us just yet anyway. You know.
Right. Well, what else you got there, Becca?
We have a funny one from Helen Barkley. She's like, is he still afraid of flying and spiders?
Yes, on both accounts, very much so.
Oh,
Let's see, what else do we have on
Very
here?
silly, very true.
well, I got to know. I've got to ask, Steve. You have lost a lot of weight. Did you go on a diet or what happened?
Yeah. I gave up sugar. Yeah, pretty much sugar and a lot of carbs. It was actually Tango that did it to me. He didn't do it to me, but he's my. You know, we're very, very close, and I think he was just. We were doing an event in Ohio State Reformatory about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago now, but no, a year and a half ago. And I was just sitting there at lunch complaining about my weight and how I'd seen, because I wouldn't watch the show, you know. One, we were there, so I don't need to see, we know everything that happened. Two, usually we're working on the nights it aired, so you'd have to see it in like a rerun if you taped it, that sort of thing. But, you know, I would see an episode and be like, oh, who is that? You know, because I gained probably 40 pounds from season 1 to season 11. And I think Tang was just sick of hearing me complain, and he said, well, your favorite food is cheeseburger. He loves steak. And I said, yeah. And he said, so you're doing the Atkins? And I said, well, Atkins takes too long. I don't want to lose a pound a month. Like that's
Right.
And so basically there's the induction phase of Atkins, which is like the first 2 weeks where you do like 18 or 19 grams of sugar or carbs. It's the same thing a day. And I just stayed there. I did that and just stayed there. I never left that. So I do 19 carbs a day, strict, and that's it. That's how I lost weight. But it came off fast. You know, you'll lose 14 pounds every 2 weeks. You'll lose 7 pounds a week.
Wow.
So I took off the bulk of it in about 3 months or so. So everybody thought I was on drugs or, you know, a lot of people would say, oh, his girlfriend dumped him, so he's depressed and he lost the weight he was going to have. But, I mean, all that's baloney and garbage.
Somebody dumps me and I eat all the time.
I know, me too. I'm a comfort
Yeah.
eater.
Yeah, you know, screw that. Dump me. I'm going to eat like 3 pizzas. Somebody call Domino's, you know.
What?
So
That's what I was doing.
I gotta
anything at all hours of the night.
I gotta say that, you know, I liked it. Like the photo that I put up there with you. I'm sure you saw it, right? It was one of your photos.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Well,
is it the one with like a red checkered shirt or something?
Oh, I don't remember now. I don't have a picture of it in front of me. But anyways, I liked, believe it or not, when you were like, I think you're too skinny right now. What are you laughing
this
for?
is coming from a gay guy.
Yeah, I'm openly gay, and I really find him to be too skinny right now. I'm sorry.
Very kind. Thank you. No, it's
I love
very
it.
nice. I do hear that quite a bit, but
I mean, I posted that picture.
Compared,
I posted that picture, and I had 20 people say, "Look at his eyes. He's got beautiful eyes." I'm like, "Yeah, he does." You know, and it's like, but then you look at his new pictures versus the picture that I had, and I'm like, God, what happened to Steve?
Oh my god.
yeah.
I just think you're too skinny,
Well,
but that's my preference. But as long as you're happy and you're healthy, that's what matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I did take a substantial amount off. You know, I lost almost 70 pounds total, about 67 so far. But yeah, I do hear that quite a bit. And you know, it may be a little thinner compared to, you know, side by side. But if I just walked in and met you for the first time, you wouldn't be like, "Look at that skinny bastard." You know,
Yeah.
I still have a good amount of fluff to me and that sort of thing. But
Oh, you haven't
yeah, I
you
hear that
haven't
a little
seen
bit.
me, Steve. I've got fluff. You ain't got no fluff.
Oh, yeah, so many,
Well, thank you.
so many questions.
Very, very nice.
And now I know because there's one on here that says, you know what, Steve? No more apple teenies for Steve.
Whoa, hey, someone there knows a lot about me because I used to be my drink of choice, and they're absolutely right. No more apple-teenies for me. I'm
Michelle Childer?
strictly
Yeah,
a Captain
yeah.
and Diet fella right now.
Yeah, Michelle Childers is the one that said it.
I know, she knows everything.
I know,
like,
she's
do you
amazing.
know
We
her?
should. I think we're going to hire her and take your place.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Huzzah.
Research.
Oh, come on. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, research to know your drink of... Dang.
Yeah.
Dang, you're good, Michelle.
Cindy here, she was saying that Steve looks great, and I think he does too. And I just, it's a preference, ladies. Slow down.
There's so many
Yes,
out here.
doesn't the gay community have what do they call heavier?
I'm a bear.
It's
I'm
a
the same
yes,
way.
he's a
right?
bear.
A bear.
Oh, yes, that's
Yeah.
it, a bear.
Yeah, because that's what I am. I'm a
Yeah.
bear in the gay community.
You wouldn't assume
Okay.
TW is gay unless you had a conversation with him or he told you were too skinny.
Yeah,
Or
a
his
lot of
preference.
people don't know that I am. I just recently came out like within the last 10 years. So
Okay.
family was the only one that knew, but I'm like, well, with like Adam. Adam in Amy's show is like everybody knew that Adam was, and you know
Of course.
before he said something, people knew. But I'm nothing like that. I'm kind of like the opposite. Nobody knew. Nobody even guessed it unless I said something. And
Yeah.
I'm one of
Well,
the only gay investigators that I know. Other than like Adam, I don't know. Oh, and the guys from Queer Ghost Hunters
Yeah,
and
he's
stuff
Queer
like
Ghost
that.
Hunters.
But yeah, I don't know that many.
Yeah.
Richter.
Richter is a Bigfoot hunter, a Bigfoot guy.
Yeah,
so
but
Richter's
he still
not
investigates.
Yeah. So we're kind of we're really a minority. We're kind of like one of
All right.
those.
Well, I enjoy investigating with anybody,
We're an endangered
whether they
species.
like men, women.
I'm an endangered
Yeah,
species.
Embrace
Oh,
it and
God.
chase it.
Adam Berry, kind of funny. We did the Academy show, Ghost Hunters Academy.
Yeah, I
right?
remember.
And Adam Berry was
Yep.
one of our cadets there, and,
Yep.
and
I wanted to be on that.
he was a little more macho
Yep.
in the beginning of the season, like
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, like in the beginning, there may have been a question mark. Like, is he gay, or is it maybe he's just a little more, in touch with other sides of himself? But then towards the end, it was no. But it kind of made me feel bad that he felt like he had to, maybe make himself a little more manly to fit in with us, that kind of thing.
That is
Maybe
bad. I mean, you should
quickly we learned.
always be yourself. And this is the way I am. I'm a redneck too. I mean, I lived on the farm, I worked on the farm. I didn't know I'm 51 years old. Back then, I didn't know like the gay clubs and all. I didn't know how I was supposed to act. So I
love
acted
gay
like
clubs,
everything.
And I'm not even gay.
So I just acted everybody like how the other guys and the males were around in my family. So I had no clue.
TW as a drag queen, guys.
No,
That'd be hilarious.
no. Will you stop?
That'd be amazing.
Well,
Has
Helen
your
Bar-
life,
Weird,
do you feel like your quality of life has gotten better since you've come out? Like,
Oh,
did you
yeah.
notice a difference in
Oh,
terms
yeah.
of,
Oh yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, that's good. Good.
Yeah, because you know what? When
I don't even, to me, it's weird.
I think it's one of those things, Steve. It's like when you're not truly yourself, it's like you're feeling like you're always holding something back. You're not able to like vocalize things. You're not able to give your opinion. You're not able to really be free. You know what I mean? So this way, I don't worry about it. And people that are in my life, they take me for who I am. And if they don't, they don't. I mean, I'm pretty straightforward. I'm not.
Yeah.
I won't like volunteer the information. I won't say, "Hey, I'm gay. I'm over here. Hello." I won't do that. But if someone was to walk up to me and say,
We should have to.
"Yeah, I know," but if someone was to come up and say, "Are you gay?" I'd tell them, "Yeah."
He'll just tell you you're a little skinny for his preference.
Oh, money.
What do we got?
Okay.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank
Glad,
you. Thank you. And I'm happy for you,
You don't
too,
feel
that
like you need to.
And I'm happy for you that you lost the weight. It's what you wanted to do, and I think it's awesome. If that's what you're happy with, then kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to stay where, I put on 10 pounds at Thanksgiving, which made me a little angry, but I like where I am right now. I'm
Good.
sitting at about 175. I'm pretty happy here.
So I'm going to tell you a really
But
quick...
I did get done 160.
So I'm going to tell you a really quick story. Jason Haas went to my school. He was 2 grades below me.
What?
Yeah, him and I went to school together. He was I figured that out today because I ran into one of my classmates. And she goes, do you remember Jason? I'm like, no, I don't. She goes, yeah, he was like 2 classes below us. I'm like, really? Because his uncle owns the gun store. Because I live in Avon, New York. And, and his uncle owns the gun store.
The one next to where you put...
Yeah. So, I mean, so it was kind of, So we were talking about it. It's like, that is so cool that, So I always kind of message Jason and try and, chat and stuff like that. Jason's actually pretty busy, I hear. I mean, you watch his feeds. He's got his radio show and everything. Hey, you know what? Do they still have that motel-hotel thing that they bought?
Yeah, we just had that question from Helen, actually. Did Jay keep the hotel?
No. They sold that many years ago.
Oh, that's too bad.
How about this one? We have, what's the funniest moment that you've ever had on the show? Kristen wants to know that.
Funniest moment there? Oh, gosh. There's so many. I mean, anytime that Tango and I are able to get into some trouble is always a lot of fun. And even Jay, for a while, Jay was a little more stiff, I guess is the word you could use on the show, but during the later seasons, when we were partnered up and investigating a lot, I mean, we would just laugh and go crazy for hours. Eventually, we just started feeling bad and saying, how are they going to make a TV show out of this? I would just, been laughing for 4 hours straight. So, we have a lot of fun. I like playing pranks on people, playing pranks on Tag. Actually, one time, I was driving. We were driving from the hotel to the location where we were filming, and I noticed a van in my rearview mirror, and I had a rental car, so nobody knew what I was driving. I was like, is that the Taps van? It has to be, And so I slowed down on the highway to about 20 miles an hour right in front of it. Now I'm, swerving to stay in front of them, not letting them get over about 20 miles an hour. And so I start flipping them off and giving them the middle fingers and all this. And so they come driving up alongside of me fast as they can. Both Tango, Britt Griffith, the dirtiest looks on their faces, giving me the bird and flipping me off. And then when they saw it was me, they were like, you mother effer, like, what are you doing? Stuff like that is always fun, playing tricks and pranks on people. But in terms of the paranormal, I don't know. The funniest, good question.
Well, you guys were always...
I mean, I laughed a lot.
You guys always, there were certain places you went to. I'm trying to remember the location. You guys were in like a kitchen area, and you guys were playing, tapping on glasses, I think, and singing or something. You and Tango, you were going to town. You guys were just having a blast in that. I think it was a kitchen. Oh God,
it could be.
I can't remember now.
I mean, we've done that.
Yeah, you guys,
and we get into people's stuff too, that can be fun. We found, quite a bit of things we probably shouldn't have, because we look, we need to check things out. If people are on a certain cocktail of medications that create hallucinations, we need to know that. And so we definitely do something, and we tell them, hey, we're going to open all your cabinets and your drawers. But they'll still leave all their drug paraphernalia, all their personal sexual items in there. They don't care about anything. We find all that crazy stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And we've eaten so many Like, oh, they made spaghetti last night. They won't mind if we open this. In our clients' houses and all that stuff.
Yeah, and you guys like
We
to
have good
scare
time.
each other too. I mean, there are quite a few episodes when they were scaring each other, and it
there
was hilarious.
We do, and that I will admit that is a little unprofessional, 100%. But you don't always think they're going to use that, because if you've been investigating for 20 hours,
Right.
what are the chances they're going to use the one clip where I, scare Tango when he's reaching for a button or something like that? But those things just happen. I mean, you shouldn't try to jump scare somebody when you're investigating for the paranormal.
Right.
How are they supposed to take you seriously when something really happens? But
We do care.
We totally,
it's just, you have to.
Yeah. Well,
You gotta make it fun.
Yeah, but there's things too. I mean, it's like, how many investigations do you go? Like, even for us with GVPI, you're recording, with your cameras and stuff, and you go by, and then you go back, and you're just like, oh shit, my fly was down the whole time. You don't think about it. Or you walk by, and it's like, oh, he was picking his nose. I don't want to watch that. It's like,
Oh yeah. All the time that stuff happens.
oh, and gas has got to be the biggest one. People, when they walk by, they forget the cameras there.
Oh, shout out to Christian. I don't know if he's watching, but that's
But
right.
yeah, I mean, we have one
That's
we
a
call a
prop
gas
duster.
man. Yeah, we have one they call a gas man. Christian is just one of those guys that I don't know. If we could bottle it, we could be rich.
Oh gosh. Ectoplasm.
All right, so who was it?
Ectoplasmic residue.
What was it? Helen was the one that said. Helen said that Ted is a hottie too. Is that who said that?
Yeah, Helen said that.
Thank you, Helen. Some people do like big guys,
Oh yeah, Helen also said that she has family. Julie and Paul Bolden lived in Avon for a long time. Ted probably went to school with their kids, Tammy and PJ Bolden.
Sounds familiar, but I don't know. That depends on what year. Chanel is up here. She says, I love the episodes with Grant Wilson. I wasn't as loyal of a watcher after he left. Oh.
Favorite episode of my DVD, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad when Grant departed, but happens. Unfortunately, the TV world can be very demanding, especially for somebody who has children, family life, that whole thing.
Right. Well, Helen Barkley comes back and says, Steve can come and check out my house anytime.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa! All right.
Robert Taylor says,
Get a lot of those missed.
Yeah, Robert Taylor's like, I think the bat moments and the spider moments were the best. Great.
Yeah, those were
Yeah,
funny.
for him maybe.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got on here.
Oh my gosh.
Pit Crew's watching from Syracuse, so we have a ghost hunting group for Syracuse watching here too.
My boyfriend's son,
All right.
I came home the other night from Parafest.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
mind you, this kid loves spiders. Like, I got him a little aquarium to collect spiders in and like a magnifying glass to view him.
Mm-hmm.
He's obsessed with spiders. He was a spider for Halloween. He just loves spiders. I come home after Parafest, and he looks at my face and he goes, no offense. And this kid's 5 years old. No offense, but your face is terrifying me.
That's because you're all
Oh my
dressed up
God.
as a zombie.
I know. I had half my face zombified. He's more scared of that than he is of a giant spider. He loves spiders. He'll just-
Kids.
So Cindy's got a question for you. She says, what was your very first paranormal or ghost hunting experience?
I don't. There are a few that could maybe qualify as that I'm just not sure about. When I was maybe 5 or 6 years old, I was playing with. I lived in Pennsylvania at the time, and I was playing on the floor with my friend Jamie, this girl, and I don't really remember. Well, here's what I remember. I remember hearing the sound of like plastic hitting like the wall, like this little plastic hitting the wall. And I was like, that's weird, but I didn't think anything of it. Then all of a sudden, I just remember my friend, her name was Jamie. She was crying, and her mother picking her up and saying, "It's okay," and she's like, "It'll be over in a minute." And she looked at me and said, "Okay, it's time for you to go. Like, Jamie's going to bed now." And I didn't quite understand what that was all about. And then a few years later, I found out that she lived in a house that was haunted, and she was haunted. And it was actually the light bright pegs that we were playing with were being flung from the floor and, like, hitting the wall and stuff.
Wow.
And then her parents, picked her up because she was crying and brought her to bed and told me it was time to go home and that whole thing. But I don't know if I can consider that my first paranormal experience because I didn't really put it together or even know it back then. It's just sort of, So I fast forward from that to about when I was about 14 years old. I was in a graveyard in Massachusetts, Pollard, Massachusetts to get exact. And I was doing what the Warrens would do. What I read Ed Lorraine, well, mostly Ed Warren. Lorraine, would sort of yell at him, not yell at him, but be, Ed, it's time to come home, that sort of scenario. But where he would always say that he would throw that chair in the graveyard and watch for the white lady for 8 hours every single night, or every weekend for 4 or 5 years straight, and I was on that sort of mission. And I was 15, 14, and would just sit in that graveyard in the lawn chair by myself, overnight, all night. As much as I could get away with it without my parents, thinking I ran away from home, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then, I finally had my first experience where I felt like something was sort of grabbing at my legs, which is very interesting, or something. And I fell, and, didn't see anybody or anything. It was just sort of flat grass and gravestones. And it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was by myself, so I didn't quite know what to think of it. So I just left and ran home. That was my first kind of experience.
Well, I think psychologically when you're even, 14, 15, 16, I mean, when you're by yourself sitting in a dark place, like a cemetery by yourself, your own adrenaline is going because of fear and what's going to jump out or anything like that. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, I used to do the same thing.
Yeah, when I was 14 years old, my adrenaline would have been up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just stuff like that. The scary stuff that's attached to your brain, just kind of like, memories, it just kind of like freaks you out a little bit. So you're on edge, you're sitting on the end of your seat, and, okay, am I, what's going to come out? And fear is a big thing. I always tell you, and on the show, is that emotions are one of the things that rule us. And so within that itself, fear and happiness and all that stuff, I mean, that plays such a big role in who we are. And how we do things, so stuff like that, sitting in a graveyard, I don't care who you are, to be honest, and this is not against you or anything, Steve, but I think that when you sit in a graveyard by yourself, and even like me now at 51 years old, would I sit in a graveyard for 8 to 10 hours by myself in a chair just watching for things? Yeah, I would, but at the same time, it's like that all those things play in your mind.
It's a very vulnerable state to be in.
It is.
You're sitting in an area by yourself, surrounded by dead bodies.
Well, it's not even that for me. Like here, I mean, when people think New York, they think New York City. But if you were to come down to Avon and like sit in one of the cemeteries, like where I live, the coyotes kindly always run in packs through there. The black bear, we have all that stuff down there. So it's like you don't want to be in a situation like that by yourself and nobody know where you are.
Broad daylight. We went, Anthony took me deer watching in Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. He goes deer watching there. And
in a cemetery?
Yeah. First thing we saw, we drove through there and down, like going down the first line, there's a big giant, like 8-point buck just sitting there, like laying there, relaxing. And
then, in the cemetery.
And then we watch a coyote in broad daylight just run across the cemetery, right in front of the car. I was like, wow, that's
weird.
crazy.
Cool.
So, yeah, it happens, even in daylight.
So Bradley Monks here has got a question. He says, ever hear from KJ and Britt? I have them as friends, and Steve, you should come for a visit to Saskatchewan. I'll host. P.S. There is a train. I know you won't fly. LOL.
Well, he's right. I will not fly. I would take a train, though. I love trains. But I drive cross country all the time. Doesn't bother me none.
So,
Britt, I haven't talked to him in probably 5 or 6, maybe 5 years, I want to say, or 6 years.
mm-hmm.
KJ, I still talk to him Sadly, I haven't seen him in about a year. I think it was last October I saw him. But yeah, that's it. I haven't seen or talked to Britt in many, many years. And KJ, I don't talk to him as much as probably we should, because we worked closely and we're friends for quite some time. But sadly, I haven't seen him in about a year. Yeah.
Do you guys ever get together and do like a Ghost Hunters reunion? Do you guys ever get together and do a picnic and stuff like that?
No. I mean, it's only been a year since,
Yeah, but still.
Maybe if it's been 10 years, perhaps. But no, we haven't done that because we still do it, just on our own sort of terms. Jay and I, we still see each other quite often and hang out and make it a point that if, we'll do an investigation or just meet up, and we have some other business and television endeavors together that keep us busy. Tango is my closest and dearest friend on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk to him every day and see him as often as possible. And with Tango and I, if it goes a week or two and we haven't seen each other, we get a little anxious and we start, gotta hang out. And then we make it a point for me to go to Jersey or for him to come to Massachusetts and we hang out. But these events, we see each other. Like we'll see Tango once, at the least once a month at an event or an appearance, that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't see them too often, unfortunately. When we're filming, you see them every day for 3 months in a row. And maybe you won't see them for a week, and then you'll see them again every day for 2 months in a row. And,
Well, Steve, we're going to have you hold on for a minute because we got to run a couple commercials, and then we'll come back. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Digital Ink Art is a local company that specializes in screen printing, heat transfers, logos, vehicle graphics, and stickers. They are located in Albion, New York, between Rochester and Buffalo, and they make it real easy for anyone to get their brand printed. The website, digitalinkarts.com, is undergoing a new look, but you can still contact them on Facebook or by calling 585-200-2400. So don't forget, digitalinkarts.com.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has captivated you with their true reports of the strange and unknown. But things just got better. Join host Todd Bates Sunday nights 6/5 Central for Fate Radio. We bring you the best interviews, stories, and most of all, bring these true reports of the strange and unknown to life. Fate Radio with Todd Bates, Sunday nights 6/5 Central at fatemagradio.com.
VillageRadio.net, 80s and 90s hits, plenty of local info and high school sports, broadcast, and scoreboard reports. VillageRadio.net, hometown info, hometown sports. Hilton, New York's greatest hits. Check out VillageRadio.net. Okay, so we've been sitting here talking with Steve from Ghost Hunters, but I wanted to show everybody on the live feed, there's a cake here in front of us. This is one of the cakes that was made by Charlene Kraft, the witch from Rochester. She's an awesome individual. We love her to death, but she made this for us for our birthdays. It's a Ouija board birthday cake, if you can see it. It's amazing. It's just, she did such a good job at it. It's just, and I think that the planchette is chocolate. I think all that is chocolate that she made, or something like that. It's just, it's amazing.
Oh, that was chocolate? I still
It's chocolate or something. I don't know what it says down there.
It's your birthday! Hooray!
Oh, is that what it says? But anyway, so with the Winter Parafest that we had, she made us 2 cakes, believe it or not, and it was really great.
Yeah,
Someday,
mine had zodiac symbols on it.
yeah, it was cool. So someday, Steve, we got to get you up to our Winter Parafest. I know it's winter time, but I think you'd love it. I think you'd love seeing all the people, and it's the only one up in upstate New York, and we have a blast with it. How many tattoos does Steve have?
We still have a bunch you're skipping over too, so we got to backtrack.
Well,
Go ahead.
Tattoos. I don't know that I could put the number on them, sadly, because I don't know. I don't know the individual number. Maybe 30, maybe 40. I don't know, because they kind of melt together. You know, like now, basically, have sleeves. You know, my legs and arms are basically. Well, my arms are both sleeved. My legs are pretty dang close. I don't know, maybe 20 total. But I don't know how to say it because you know,
there's it's a full sleeve, so it's actually like one big tattoo. Yeah. Sheila Auslander's on here, and she wants to know if you're going to be at the New Jersey Para-Unity in May.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I know they have like a VIP dinner thing the first night, and then the second day is a convention. It'll be me and Chip Coffey and Amy Bruni and John Zaffis and a gentleman from Ghost Brothers. How do you pronounce this? I don't want to mispronounce it.
Which one? Dalen?
Yeah.
Dalen
at the... Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yep. And I met those guys in October. Super nice fellas. Holy cow,
we had
all
them on
three
the,
of them.
we had
Super,
them on the,
super nice fellas.
Had them on the show. Awesome.
Yeah, super fun. Yeah, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well,
it's in May.
I'm going to be there. In fact, Sheila's going, and so I'm going to be there too.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be a great show.
Well,
yep.
You can come body shame me a little more if that's just kidding. Just please.
Thanks, Steve.
I'm completely kidding.
Also, James Shrule is asking, what do you think about Scarefest in Lexington?
Oh, it's great. Yeah. I've done the last 4, I think. And it's great. I mean, it's a horror paranormal convention, so they have a good mix of both. And the promoter, it's a great show. It's always been a lot of fun. Layla over there has been really good to us. Sweet gal, and her whole staff has been really good to us. We'll be there this year, so go. I know me and Tango for sure. Jay was there last year, I think, so he might be there again. I'm not sure, but yeah, go to it. If you're in Lexington, Kentucky, it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Terrence Tagwell wants to know what your thoughts are on ITC or GeoBox.
Well, now, when it comes to ITC, what part of does she have any clarification? I mean, and you said GeoBox or Spirit Box?
It says GeoBox.
Terrence.
Okay, so
Terrence wants to know, what do you think about him? I guess, right? How do you feel about him? Okay.
So when she says GeoBox, she's referring to vibration, right? Not the
he.
Okay.
He.
Well, yeah. I mean, that technology is sound. You know, the box will find its axis, and it will, using technology, will make note of that axis, and any time that axis moves, it will pick that up and translate how much the A-axis or the Y-axis moves from the B or the X, and mathematically translate that into a vibration, a measurement of distance. So that is sound. We've used the geophones and the geoboxes to measure vibration, and I mean you can see just by using it, the lighter you tap the table or whatever your surface is, so the harder it'll measure it a little more like that. But the ITC, now, is she referring to?
I think that probably the
you think
the 7, the SB7, probably. Right.
Right. So that is sort of the 3D mapping and all that stuff, and all that.
I think the IT.
Which is,
IT. I'm wondering if it's something else. I'm wondering if they're talking about. Dave, put that, or Terrence, but Dave is his real name. Dave, but do me a favor, and so we know exactly what you want us to ask Steve, because I'm kind of confused in the question myself, because with ITC, there's a lot of different tools that they create and they have. And when you say
Right.
ITC, is it the ghost box like the SB7, the 11? Is it something else? I mean, if you clarify that, it'd be a little easier for him to answer. If you don't mind, please.
Right. Because there is a lot of, like you said, there are a lot of, different things that could come under that.
What do you think about the ghost box or the spirit box?
I'm
putting you on the spot, aren't I?
Yeah, every time I answer this question, I'm not making any friends, that's for sure. But
he's
personally,
probably going to answer the same thing I do. I almost guarantee you're going to say the same thing.
the technology just doesn't exist. It's not sound. There's no linguist on planet Earth that can translate, disembodied sounds into spoken word. It doesn't exist.
Thank you.
If this technology existed, it wouldn't be in the hands of a paranormal group somewhere. It would be the biggest breakthrough that the world has ever seen, and would be in the hands of CNN and NASA, and would be the biggest breakthrough. And this person would be an immediate millionaire and as famous as you could possibly ever be, which, they probably don't want that. I'm just saying that if that technology existed, that is the sort of platform it wouldn't have. It wouldn't go under the radar in some paranormal group.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're not the paranormal team that says, like, when we first set out and said, okay, orbs are this, and this means this, we weren't just, oh, that's a dirty developing solution because we're guessing. We send all our stuff to Kodak Labs. We go to laboratories. We go to MIT, and we go to these places and get the real answers, and they've taken apart these boxes and told us, what they really do. And, it's just, but what strikes me as interesting is there are researchers who I trust and love with all of my might and body who get real results and who I don't think would misinterpret or be duped by such technology. So I have a bit of an inner conundrum there where I don't believe the technology exists,
right?
But somehow I believe in the people who are telling me that the technology is working for them, And
I totally get that. I'm right where you are. I mean, I've got an investigator in front of mine that swears by it, and the what's the word I'm looking for? The validation, I guess, is the best way to put it, with certain questions and so on and so forth. But I'm still one of those people that stand back and go, no, But it's caused a few arguments.
Yeah. And also, I've noticed with these devices, they'll let the device lead them. They'll say things like, and, at events, and I'll talk to people, and I'll just bite my tongue and let them, because maybe they are having something legitimate. I'm one opinion of thousands, obviously, but I'll see them letting the device lead them, where they'll be asking for 5 minutes, tell me where you are. Are you nearby? And it could say floor. And they're going to go, oh, my gosh, it's buried under the floor. I knew it. They'll just make it make sense so that, I was literally listening to one where they were asking, where are you? Where are you? And it came through car. And they were like, oh, my gosh, it's outside next to our car in the parking lot. We knew it. We got to get over there. It's like, well, they're letting it sort of lead them, where clearly they would just go, well, it's not telling us where it is. Car is just a random word or whatever, But perhaps... It's hard to say.
I know. I do the same thing. I'm like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is something to it. I normally come off with the answer is, work with it, study it, find some more, find some correlation, find something to where I can say, okay, now I could see this. Instead of just shooting it down, I guess I should say that more than, well, I do say, well, for me, it doesn't work. I mean, for me, I just don't have any luck with it. I guess that's the best way to put it. But, I have my, opinions too. And it is what it is. I mean, it's like we got the question, the same gentleman's asking the question about the apps on the phones and stuff like that. And I remember episodes that Jason was using the tablet, and, he created an app for it too. But my opinion, and I don't make any friends with these comments either, so trust me, is that phone apps do not work. I mean, depending on what you're looking for, as in an SB7 type, ghost box type thing in your phone, does that work? Ghost radar? No. I mean, there's stuff, you just can't trust a cell phone, because cell phones, even though they're developed, very nicely, and they have a lot of things that could be used usefully. Some things, especially with ghost hunting, don't believe everything that you're told. You know.
Sure, absolutely. When it comes to the phone apps, you're absolutely right. I mean, Ghost Radar clearly is a game. It's a make-believe toy. It's not supposed to. It's never meant to tell you that. People just took it at that. But with some of the things, and I'll be completely honest here, when it came to that app that we used on the show, I did a lot of the internal developing, and we spent 3 years going back and forth before we ever launched it. We spent 3 solid years testing it and going back and forth and doing the correct math. And the geophone functions most certainly work and is very, very accurate. And that's probably across the board on most of the phone devices. And even the EMF, what it did is your phone knows where, magnetic north is. It just picks it up, it knows it, and it knows where the poles are. It basically takes the picture of the top of your phone using a GPS, the top left and the top right, and creates a coordinate of that and finds magnetic north. And now if there's any discrepancy where it can't find magnetic north, mathematically it converts that into a milligauss reading, which is, the unit of measurement for standard EMF. So there is some, ability to use the phone, but, if you're going to use a recording, obviously put your phone in airplane mode or whatever mode you have. The only problem is you can never present it as evidence. You could never in a million years take something you captured on your phone, whether it's a vibration, whether it's anything, and present it as viable evidence. So that's where I would be careful, is using the phone. Use it for yourself, within the team, that sort of thing. But yeah, I actually got kicked out of a place for life, a very famous haunted place, which really bums me out because I love it so much, because I instructed their staff not to use the Ghost Radar app. And they got really mad at me about that, kicked me out for life.
Wow. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's crazy.
I know. And I was like, well, wouldn't you rather your staff not use something that's clearly a toy?
Right, exactly.
I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's, what device is it holds a bit of intrigue is the mass mapping and the 3D. I don't really like devices where you have to augment them. So with the, you do have to get a Kinect or one of those sort of things and fish with them a little bit. But the technology is sound. If I put that camera there in a room, it is going to show you a 3D image of that room. It will map out the bed in the room or the couch, whatever it is. It'll show you where your TV is. It'll map the whole thing out. If somebody's standing there, it will show it to you. But in terms of the paranormal, you have to, assume that what you're looking for has mass, because this isn't going to map anything that doesn't have mass, because the beam has to be able to bounce off of it, right?
Correct.
Or map it. Yeah. So you may not be, you could be missing some things that you could be capturing otherwise. And aside from that, it does a terrible amount of, matrixing and that sort of thing, where it'll put the stick figure in there, and no matter what now, you're always going to see the shape of the human, because it's putting that stick figure there, and your brain will never be able to unsee it. So there are a lot of hiccups with it. But the basic, down and dirty of the technology is sound.
Now,
you can you put that in your backyard, it's going to map out the trees and show you where your shed is. Like, it does work.
Now, is that the SLS, structured light sensor system? Is that what? I don't know, Keith. I'm not sure what that is. That is what it is. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Cindy was also. Oh, you got one too. But Cindy was just asking if you were going to be at the what is that? Sault Ste. Marie Paracon in August.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I was there last year.
Okay.
But it said it was very strange. They had said they wanted, and then they asked for. I don't think so. They basically, I actually don't know. They said yes in the beginning, and then all of a sudden I wasn't on the flyers and stuff.
Okay, so it's a big question mark. So
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Ask them, I guess. I killed it when I was there last time. Great time. People loved it. But for whatever reason, maybe they don't want me back. I don't know.
All right, what you got? What you got, Becca?
So Sheila Oslander wants to know. She said there's a scare con in Verona, New York. Joe Chin and Steve Mills were there in the past 2 years or more. She said, would you be interested in being invited and attending as a celebrity?
Well, that one in New York, I have the whole background on that. The gentleman who runs our magazine, Jim, he is the owner of that convention. He's the promoter, puts it on. We're very close friends with him for many, many years. He's actually Jay's radio partner. That Jim from Beyond Reality Radio is the same promoter who runs that convention. Yeah, would be interested to do it for sure. I did that one once as a guest. I think it was their second year. It was great, a lot of fun. I didn't do it last year because we had a booking. I found with that convention, what ends up happening is I feel like since Jim knows us, he'll get in touch with us sort of last minute, but then we're already booked, because we book pretty quickly through October and September.
Right.
So I feel like that may be the reason I haven't done it the last year or two or three.
Shoot, I'll go.
But I would do that. Sure. It's fun. It's a great convention. A lot of fun. He does another one in Springfield, Massachusetts under the same name. I did that last year. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, I'd be down for it for sure. He just has to, like I know this year, it's exactly what happened is he talked to me about doing it. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And then he talked about maybe some sort of after party band sort of scenario thing or whatever. And then by the time it came around to the real conversations, I had already been booked at a different gig.
Oh, geez. Well,
sadly.
That's what you gotta tell him, Sheila. You gotta tell him to get a hold of
Yeah, tell him
Steve
to book us early.
Book them early.
Yeah.
Now, I could probably answer this along with you, or I'll just let you answer it and I'll add on or whatever. But Lance is on here and he says, why do EVPs record only on digital audio recorders and not video audio recorders? What's up with that?
Well, I'm no offense, but I feel like he may have some misinformation because we capture EVPs on digital and analog. As a matter of fact, we were strictly analog for a long time. One of the best investigators I know, his name is Keith Johnson, one of the smartest, kindest, dearest people. He's actually an amazing investigator. He was on our show, season 1 and 2, as a demonologist, and somebody I admire quite deeply. He only uses analog. He will not use digital. And we get EVPs on our videotapes all the time, both digital and if we're using an actual tape, we get audio recordings. Now, you need to be careful. We run into some discrepancy where people will consider anything an EVP, but it is only an EVP if it's captured electronically. You need to have that electronic there. If you hear it with your ears, it is not an EVP. Even if you capture it on your recorder, if you hear it with your own ears, it's not an EVP because it's not captured electronically, right?
Right. That's
in order for it to be an EVP, it needs to be captured electronically solely.
Right.
If you captured something you heard with your sounds, with your ears on your electronics, you've just captured a disembodied voice, and not necessarily an EVP.
Right.
So he may be misinterpreting and that's the nitty-gritty stuff that if you're just an enthusiast, you'll never need to worry about. But as an investigator, you make those distinctions. So he may be a little confused there. But to clarify his question, or to give him the answer, we get EVPs and capture disembodied voices and sounds across all audio platforms, analog, digital, even different frequencies. We've done Tango the Genius, going back 9 years ago. He did a whole study for a few months where he was transmitting his voice out in the same frequency that we saw that most of our EVPs were collected in. So he had the thought that maybe if he transmitted his voice in that same frequency, they'd be more likely to hear him. So we've tried a lot of different things in the EVP world. But yeah, just maybe if he knows a little more of the distinction there, he may have a better time understanding how it's captured and that it can be captured on many different platforms.
And here's some other things too that you have to think about is location. Like if you're, if say you have a digital recorder on you and you also have the area that you have surveillance with the cameras with audio and video, and it didn't capture, well, there's a couple things you can look at. With your DVR system that you set up, make sure the camera has sound and that the sound is working. Because sometimes hooking up those wires, it can be a pain, and sometimes you can, like room 2 to room 1, you could accidentally switch, the wires. It's happened. And the other thing is that sometimes with your digital recorders that you have in your hand, even if you're like, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet, 10 feet, even as far away as 20 feet from the device, from the camera to that as an audio, some of those do not pick up as loud as the device right in your hand. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe the EVP that you're catching, maybe it's something that's actually near your recorder and not near the video camera that has the audio. And maybe it's just, that just there. It's just like a placement. It's like the ghost is next to you versus next to the camera. So there's a lot of little things.
You always want to judge the filtration of the voice and how it seems like it's travel. It's a good point, for sure.
Right, you definitely have to do that. So, and there's plenty of cases. Like I know some, like even on my team, they'll use 2 digital recorders when they put them together. They'll carry one on them and they'll lay one down next to them, and that's why I carry 4 of them. I have 4 recorders because for me it's one of those things. Like if I set that down, what's that?
Said no big deal. I got 4 recorders and you only have 2.
But no, but it's kind of like if I set them down next to each other, your hope would be that if you get one on one, you would get it on the other. And that's to me, you should be able to get that. But we've had, Nashville's. When we investigated Nashville's, we had one sitting on the bar and we had one sitting in the center of the room. No, I know you weren't, but I'm trying to explain to you that for like audio, we had one sitting on the bar and one sitting in the middle of the room. The one that was sitting at the bar caught the voices, but the one sitting in the middle of the room didn't.
Still have yet to go in that damn basement.
So, I mean, and it's just distance,
It'll also help you triangulate location, too.
Correct, yep.
One of our own team members on here, Matt Pellegrino, he says, "You're awesome, Steve."
Whoa. Thank you, Mr. Pellegrino. Nice fella. That guy has excellent taste.
Actually, you're one of his favorites. That's actually my best friend, and we used to watch it. Whoa. He was one of them. We used to get together and watch it. That's what our nights were.
Yeah. Yep. We have, should we read Helen's?
Go ahead, read whatever.
All right. Helen Barkley wants to know, what do you think of Ghost Adventures?
Ghost Adventures. I much more now than I did. Since I've become friends with those guys, I sort of pay a little more attention to what they have going on in their show and that sort of thing. It's definitely a different style. They have their thing. But I like them, as people. I get along great. Aaron and I, good friends. Zach has been nothing but, nice at the times I've encountered him. As a matter of fact, the first time I met Aaron, he couldn't thank me enough. He said, "You guys are the Godfathers. Thank you so much. Without you, we wouldn't have a show." And, he met Tango. He started bowing. I'm like, "Oh, what is happening?" They're very nice, very humble. Zach, I actually met him about 2 years ago. We just sort of crossed, through the hallway because he said a few things on Twitter that people had showed me that weren't, as flattering as they could be. Mm-hmm. So I thought maybe he was going to be a little gruff, but then I ran into him again about a year ago. This was at a convention in Minnesota. And I threw my water bottle into the garbage can, and a $20 bill went in with it on accident. And I was like, "Oh, gee, I got to get that out. I'm not going to let that." So I'm reaching in to grab it, and I just hear a voice behind me, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on, Steve? Are times tough? You need me to buy you a drink or a cup of soup or something? And sure enough, it's Zach, making fun of me. And I'm like, "Oh, gosh, figures the first time I have a conversation with you, I got my arm, digging through the garbage." But we hung out the whole night and chatted, and they just have a different method. It seems that what we would use on our team as a technique may be their method. I'm not really sure, but I don't have anything negative or anything to say. Fun guys, and every time I hang out with him, we get along great.
That is the nicest comment we've ever heard.
That is the nicest thing that we've heard about Zach.
Whoa!
To be honest, it really is.
Well, I mean, I've heard it all too, and all the stories and all, but I can only judge how he was to me and that sort of thing, and he
that's
was,
pretty
he was
much
very nice.
That's pretty much the way it should be. And I know, I mean, I give Zach a lot of shit, to be honest with you. I mean, we've had quite discussions here at Paratalk Radio, and it's not that I hate the guy. I don't.
You want to interview him.
I do want to interview him.
If you're running Zach, be like, this Paratalk Radio show, they want you on it.
The thing is that I have a lot of things that when I watch shows, and let's put it out there, when because like now Kristen Holmes is on here, and even Helen was saying he's too nice. So there's this running theme with Ghost Adventures that a lot of people mention, and it's not just us picking on Zach. It's his fans, I guess it would be the best way. The people that watch his show, and they say it here, when they come on our radio show, and they say, Zach again, first 10 minutes of the show he was possessed twice, and I'm like, well, it does get a little too much, I guess, because it's like every episode or every show he gets possessed, so people tend to put that out to us a lot.
They play into the theatrical aspect of being on TV and having a ghost.
Yeah, so
show.
a lot of people make comments, and I'm not a fan of a Ghost Adventures. I started watching it when it first came out, but then Ghost Hunters was the show that I watched. So I was impartial. You know what I mean? So yeah, see, that's we can't talk about him on the show because everybody says stuff. So. But yeah, it's just he may be a nice guy, and the women like looking at him, and there's a lot of good things like that, and he's never done anything to me. And so when we joke around about Zach Bagans on the show, it's not because I dislike the guy. It's not because I don't know the guy either. So, and he's never done anything to me. I just think that sometimes the theatrics, like what Becca was saying, and what people say about the show is what is brought up here. And I have at times I said, it's just one of those jerky things. It's just I don't know. I don't know what to say sometimes.
I don't know.
It's hard to say
when
something.
It comes to that.
Everyone's being.
Yeah, there's a few there that are different types of comments, but it's like, I just don't know what to say sometimes.
There it is. It's confirmed, guys. Steve is a Baconator.
Really? Is that what it says?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
He's a Baconator.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, that show, people will watch it and have fun, but.
Well, I've said it 100 times. It's
that show, it might be.
He's doing something right. I mean, obviously he wouldn't have the fan base and he wouldn't have the things that he has if he wasn't doing something that people wanted to see or wanted to talk about. It's kind of like that thing, Steve, without haters, you wouldn't have certain things being brought up because they tend to, talk about you, and Steve's doing, Zach is doing something right. He's got the money, he's got the things that he's doing, he's got the TV show, he's where other people want to be. Maybe some of it's jealousy, maybe some of it's, I don't know, just to play off the theatrics, who knows, but he's doing something that we aren't, and we should give him credit for where credit's due.
Yeah, I don't know, nice fella, but I mean, anybody in the field will know that, a true demonic case is one in a million. Even John Zappis has said he'll come across one, a legitimate one, in 20 years. So the
right.
Coming across one on every case, as you can see, doesn't quite add up to making sense. But I look at it sort of also, I don't know if they care to be in the field once their show's over. For instance, if I was cast on a show about making cars and I wasn't a mechanic, I probably wouldn't care what I said on TV, or would I pretend this Mustang is a Fiat? Maybe. Like, what do I know? I'm not a mechanic. You know what I mean? Like, So there could be some of that sort of, like, I don't know. I
It's
don't
made
know.
for TV.
But,
it's made for
That's
TV.
why I've
I mean,
always
that's
liked Ghost Hunters, because
Yeah.
Ghost Hunters kind of caters to the
the serious investigator.
actual serious investigators, because you look at it and you can see their credibility on screen. You can see how real people they are on screen and how, down to earth.
Well,
they come
Ghost Hunters
across.
did that thing like when they came out. They showed people how to investigate. Whether they intentionally meant to do that or not, people took that as, well, this is how you do it.
Yep.
So that's what they did. So when shows like Ghost Adventures came on and their method of investigating was a little different, and then, things were being seen and said, it's like the whole big difference with orbs. Like, for years, you could watch Ghost Hunters, and Jason I remember, Steve, you and Tango, and you and, some of the other members, you tried to get Jason plenty of times to say, this is a weird orb, we just want you to say that this is an orb, that it's possibly haunted, or, whatever. It's differences of opinion on certain things, and it's what you get from the shows. Mm-hmm. And I put Ghost Adventures as more of a made-for-TV show than I do Ghost Hunters. There is a difference for me.
Yeah. Well, I think about it this way, too, looking at it as from a viewer's perspective. If you look at Ghost Hunters is like, oh, no, I gotta remember what I was gonna say. See, I'm so sick, I'm like, oh.
I know it's
but
tough.
Ghost Adventures is more like dedicated to people who might investigate for the fun of it, for the thrill of it. You know what I mean? Whereas Ghost Hunters is more dedicated to those who investigate for the passion of it. You know what I mean?
Or the evidence. I can see what you're saying.
The hard evidence of it.
Right. There is that.
Interesting.
There is that factor, but I still look at it the other way, too, is that, you watch Ghost Adventures, it's more of a TV-themed thing that's just like, okay, here we go again, type of thing, and people watch it because of that. Where Ghost Hunters, they watched it because, okay, where are they investigating? What are they going to find? And what are they going to tell their client? And, it was just different. And there are those people that are dedicated to Ghost Hunters, and there are those that are dedicated to Ghost Adventures and Zach. It's like Paranormal State. Paranormal State had their own way of doing things, too. Mm-hmm. Every show that's out there is different. They have their own method. They have their own personalities. And bottom line, no matter what the TV show is, some of it is made for TV. And this is something I've said, even like Steve, that how many hours do you investigate a place? Sometimes 10, sometimes 20 hours. Well, of course, the TV show is only 45 minutes or 44 minutes, so they're not going to be able to show you every single thing that happened. Well,
when we investigate, we like for our show, for instance, say we're at the Stanley Hotel, it would say that we investigated for a night, or we were there for a night, which would be 8 to 12 to 14 hours, but we were really there for 6 weeks, and we investigated probably 7 or 8 of those nights for about 10 hours each time. So we investigate quite a bit. The only time we ever did it, like just one night, would be like a private residence, and the couple needed to have their house back the next day or something. But for the most part, we were at places for weeks and weeks. We went to, when we investigated the Presidio in San Francisco, we were there for 2 months and investigated for a couple weeks. We wear the same clothes every day, because shirts all look the same in IR and all that stuff. And have to make sure my beard is the same length for, a month straight, all that baloney. But because they play it as one night, and their reasoning to us was, like you said, all this gets whittled down to 43 minutes, and only, 28 of those minutes are investigation. Can we really waste 12 of those minutes saying, this is night 2, and this is night 4, and this is night, all of that explaining that would need to be done. So they play it off as it's, one night, maybe 2 nights, that sort of thing. But for the most part, we were at location investigating many, 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 many nights. And like you said, just to be whittled down to, really 35 minutes of investigation time.
Okay. Well, the other thing too, sorry to cut you off, but the other thing I was going to say, Becca, was that the other thing that people don't understand is that when you investigate, whether it's 10, 12, 15, 16 hours, even 8 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, if you have 4, 6, 8, 10, 15 cameras, whatever, you have to review each camera the 4 hours you were there or the 10 hours you were there. And I don't know about you, Steve, but when we have to do stuff like that, you're falling asleep, 4 hours in, and it's tough sometimes. But people don't understand. You get 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 hours of video and audio, and you still have to go through all that. So to do a TV show and only have 44 minutes or 42 minutes, that's a lot that you have to review. It's crazy. And that's per camera. I mean, for DVR, even then, you have to take and only watch one camera on your DVR for 10 hours.
We made a video to try out for Destination America.
Yeah, we did our video thing it was 5 hours we were here?
Probably, I'd say 3 or 4 hours, but we still had to cram it into 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
And there was so much funny stuff. Like, we didn't get my donut in the parking lot in the video.
No, we didn't. But the understanding of time.
There were so many bloopers we could have added up.
But the 5 minutes that we had to make that video for them was like, okay, you got 3 hours, 4 hours of this material, and you have to sit down and try and figure out what you're going to keep, what you're going to throw away.
Yeah, we're like, darn it, like, this sounds great, and we got it at 10 minutes, you know what I mean? Still have to keep cutting it down.
All right, we got some more questions in here we got to get to. Let's see. Kirsten was asking, Steve, would you come to Western New York like the Haunted Virgin House or Hinsdale House? We would love to have you out this way.
We would love to have you at the Haunted Virgin House.
Yeah, you're just saying.
Whoa, yeah, of course. I'll go anywhere haunted.
Yeah, the Haunted Virgin House,
Sure.
I think you guys would really like, because I'm going to plug it because I've been there for 2 years investigating, but it was built in 1858. It's got some really rich history. It actually is 400 million year old swamp. It's amazing, and it's got some animals that live there that are only there. You can't find them anywhere else in the world. So
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's
very, very cool. And the Haunted Hinsdale House. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No? What animals?
Oh, yeah. There is a lizard. I can't tell you what it is, but there's some type of lizard, salamander type thing. It gets about a foot and a half long, and it's the only place in the world that this thing lives.
It's in Bergen, New York.
In Bergen, New York. Yeah.
Why?
Plants too. There's plants that are only found there.
What?
Yeah. You got to do your research, girl.
Yeah, but I don't get into the lizard search of it.
Well, it's not that. It's the history. When you dig up the history, you start seeing this stuff. It's like when we started digging up like the deaths and stuff there, we found out that there were some young teenage kids that were actually bitten by the rattlesnakes there because there's 2 different types of rattlesnakes in that swamp. Believe it or not. Yeah, there's stuff. You got to do your research, girl. Snap to it.
I can see rattlesnakes, but a giant lizard or like just
well,
species
it's not
that
giant. I mean, a salamander
else,
about a foot long.
Species that aren't anywhere else though, like in the world, just at the Virgin House.
Just at the Virgin Swamp, yeah. Yeah.
That's wild.
They used to dig mastodon bones out of there.
Well, yeah, I could see that as well, but just like species that aren't anywhere else, like that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to get you up there, Steve. I think you'd enjoy it.
It's just like this little, like, old farm town and stuff. So that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, there's species and plants there that aren't anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think of New York, and I just think, okay, there's like everything that's in New York.
Yeah, and then the haunted, let's see, the Dandy House, which is the Hinsdale House. The history there, I mean, is amazing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Steve, but, that place is...
Yeah, Hinsdale House, yep.
I mean, that place is amazing as well. We've been there a few times, and Dan Klass is a good friend of mine, and and we're all kind of working together these days. He actually came up for my birthday Saturday night. We had a few drinks together. We actually closed the bar together, to be honest with you.
Did you guys really?
Yeah, we closed the bar.
See, we had to leave the bar early. You saw.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Anthony had to help security.
it was great. It was great. Let's see. Helen again. She's like your number 1 fan, by the way, and
I'm his number 1 fan.
Yeah,
Hi, Helen.
Watch out, Helen.
She loved it when you all went to Rolling Hills. Nice statement.
Yeah.
C.J. Freeman.
That's awesome.
What was your favorite moment at the Waverly Hills Sanitarium?
Oh, my favorite moment. I mean, a lot of things about Waverly Hills blow my mind. Just being there, If you are somebody who finds beauty in decay in these sort of buildings, it's going to blow your mind. It's absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And for me, it may sound corny, but it actually makes me tear up when I pull up to Waverly Hills. Every time I get a little teary-eyed. It's just beautiful and stunning, and I know that I'm going to have one of the best nights of my life every time I investigate there. Even if nothing happens, it's still just the coolest place you could ever be. I mean, you're running around this asylum, and it's huge, and it's just awesome. But for me, the top floor, if you leave, I think it's room 512, is that, or 504? I forget the exact number, excuse me, but where the nurse, she wasn't hung. Hang? Pictures are hang? People are hung? Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
I forget. I'm trying to remember how. Okay, yeah. Well, anyways, where, she had found dead right outside, but if you walk out of that room and take a right, you're on sort of a balcony, top floor, roof of the asylum. And when I was there during I think it was our first visit to Waverly Hills, may have been our second, but I think it was our first visit, I was walking and looked to my right and saw another set of legs walking next to me. And I thought, just in my head, I said, oh gosh, because there were like panes of glass, and I immediately knew it was my own reflection. And I said, oh man, Dave, that really scared me. I thought there was, someone next to me walking. And he said, well, where? And I said, right here. And he said, what are you talking about? I was like, well, obviously it's my reflection in the glass. And he said, there's no glass. And I said, what do you mean? And sure enough, even though the framework of the windows were there was not one pane of glass anywhere to create this reflection. And upon walking back and forth, nothing.
Wow.
So I'd seen, what looked like something walking next to me.
Oh,
and I apologize.
Crazy.
I think it was on my left-hand side, not my right-hand side. I think it was on my left-hand side. Yeah, but it was pretty fantastic.
Wow, that's amazing.
Childers is the expert. Room 509. Michelle Childers says she is like...
Yeah, she knows everything about
she's
you.
The number one
she's
fan.
watching
All
you.
right.
She's like, yeah, it was room 509.
Like, oh my gosh, she knows everything from what room you were in to your favorite drink. Oh my gosh.
Good memory.
She does very good memory. Wow.
So Robert Taylor has a question here too, I see. He says, what is Steve's favorite piece of equipment to use?
For me, I like the thermal imaging quite a bit. It's very, black or white, not much gray area there. You see it or you don't. And as long as you're, well-versed at reading the color palette and well-versed in figuring out all of the things that can reflect your own body heat, because there are times when I've used thermal imaging and, investigators, oh my gosh, but there's nothing there, like it can't be me, but then they don't realize that, this sanded spot on the wall, for whatever reason, had just mulled over the paint enough to make it shiny, and it was reflecting his own, body heat, that sort of thing. So once you figure all of that stuff out, and you have a good grip on how to use it appropriately, I think thermal imaging is pretty good. And EMF, you can disprove with it, you can corroborate things, you can possibly track, things with it. But with all the devices, we need to be really careful because they're widely misused. For instance, just recently, about 5 months ago, I was doing a talk to a bunch of paranormal investigators, and there's about 700 people in this room. And I asked them what their EMF meter did, what their EMF gauge read. And they wrote it down on a piece of paper and passed it to the front. And out of, the 300 or 400 people that, I got about 25 to 30 different answers, which is weird to me, because if I was in a room with a bunch of dentists and I asked them what their Novocaine did, I would have one answer.
Right.
There'd be one answer. Everybody would know. Why is it in the paranormal field that nobody really knows? And then, aside from that, not one of those investigators who wrote down what their EMF gauge read wrote the right thing, because the EMF gauge doesn't measure anything. And like if you ask an investigator, what does your EMF gauge you read, they'll say, oh, it reads the electromagnetic field, or read the discrepancy in the field, that sort of thing. But it actually doesn't read anything. And you probably already know this, I apologize, but in case you don't, it doesn't measure anything in the magnetic field. It measures radiation. When energy moves past energy, it burns a little radiation in the atmosphere, and that is what your EMF gauge is picking up. It has nothing to do with the magnetic field. It's strictly picking up a little bit of radiation. And now where that becomes tricky and where we actually become investigators is, that reading, because we all know radiation rarely, if ever, dissipates. That radiation, that reading that your EMF gauge is getting could be 10 years old, could be a year old, could be a minute old, it could be 500 years old. You have no way of knowing, right? But every investigator, they'll get their reading and go, oh, here it is, a 1.5. That's cool. They will take no step to figure out if it's happening in real time or if it has already happened. So investigators that take those extra steps and really know how to use their equipment, I think EMF is probably the most valuable tool. But if you're just using it, walking around using it, it's useless. It's garbage.
You're talking mainly K2, probably, right?
No, I won't even use a K2 meter.
Yeah, and I don't,
just EMF.
Yeah, okay.
EMF.
Because I have one, but I don't use it very often. But.
K2 and EMF, same thing. It's reading radiation, right? K2 is an EMF, but where the K2 is strange to me is it starts at a 1.5, right?
Right.
As an investigator, I need to know what's under 1.5. If my base reading is a 1.1, a 1.5 means nothing. But if my base reading is a 0.1, a 1.5 means quite a bit, So how am I ever getting my base reading with a K2 meter? I'm not. Mm-hmm. So that's strange to me. Not to mention, K2 is notorious for picking up the radial pulse and all that sort of thing. So just to be careful with the K2. K2 is a set it and forget it device. You click it, set it, put it down, and let it do its thing. Don't touch it. Don't go next to it. Don't look at it. Just let it do whatever, that sort of thing. And it has no proper shielding. Like EMF gauge has proper shielding for the different, frequencies, that sort of thing. K2 has none of that.
Now you're talking like that. I use the same tool. It's the little black one. Oh, I can't think of the name of it.
Either the Sperry or the Lutron. Yep, just your EMF standard milligauss.
Yep, and it's got the switch to go back from each side. Yeah, that's the one that I have. That's the one I like because it gives you the point 1, 0.2, whatever. It's actually digital readout, which is nice. Now, what do you think about the EDI?
I'm not familiar with EDI. Oh. I don't know what that is.
Actually, it's a new device, relatively new, EDI Plus.
Okay.
It's got like 5 devices in one. It actually has a port where you can plug it into your computer, and it will actually take the information from the device and actually load it onto your laptop and print out what I want to say, like readings. It'll actually give you a readout of what it actually taught.
So is it one of the graph devices? Where
graph, stuff like that. Yeah,
it has
the EMF. It has vibration, geo, and it has the temperature. What else has it? It has a couple other things too. I don't own one either, but I want to get one to test it to see what it actually does and how well it works. But
it might work well. My understanding was, especially in the last 2 years, I've really dove headfirst into the night vision game and progressing that technology. And one thing I've really learned is that in the field of true study, and paranormal study, you don't want to use combined devices, right? Because say you have a device where it's EMF, it's a thermometer, you have to now fit all that gadgetry into one casing, right? Mm-hmm. So you really have 3 or 4 subpar devices in one instead of using them individually in their full capacity.
Yeah, I do get it. Yep.
So I would almost rather have the individual device at their full capacity than have the ease of use because they're all together, but have 5 subpar devices. You know what I mean? Because they have to make it small enough to handheld and use it. The technology has to go somewhere. So they're pulling some of that gut out and figuring out how to work it by cutting corners somewhere.
Right.
And I would prefer to use the full device, each one individually, than sort of have them all piggybacked on each other. But who knows?
Well, if you ever get a chance, look it up.
If
you ever get a chance, look it up. Take a look at it. It's called the EDI Plus. It's like EDI and then a plus sign. It's a kind of cool tool. I like it simply for the temperature. I used, like, a friend had one, and we actually took it, and this is why I got interested in it. And he took it up in upstairs, Virgin House, actually. We took it up to the Virgin House into the top level, and we laid it on. There's a bench that goes across the one wall. And I believe the temperature was like 70 degrees. And we were actually using that part of it, trying to get, if you're here with us, blah, 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 can you get... And we actually got the temperature to rise and then to lower.
Oh, wow.
So it was very cool. It took a long time. It's not like it was an instant thing. And then you have to... I don't know. You have to mess with it. There's other things, like we had a separate individual temperature gauge next to it, which wasn't digital. It was just the regular gauge. Yeah. And, that was very difficult to tell, when it, how high it went up, because you're standing on the other side of the room, and you couldn't really tell whether it did or didn't work with it. So there's certain experiments that you have to do, and I like that part, though.
Cool.
I would rather sit down and mess with this stuff and just see what I actually could do. And then you sit down and you got your pluses, your minuses, and this is what you got, and this is what didn't happen. And I love doing that stuff. But I'm big in the history of buildings. I love the history. I just don't have time to do it. That's why other people in GVP, I have that job, because I can't sit down and do that much history right now. It's too much on my plate. I wish I could.
So Michelle Childer's on here. She said, "I'm not trying to freak anybody out, never missed taps, and have been lucky enough to meet them. Not a stalker, LOL. I actually scared Steve once. I kind of want to know how you scared Steve once."
Whoa, she scared me. What'd she do?
That's what we want to find out.
Michelle, let us know what you did.
Yeah. Hey, Brittany, we want to say hi. We just saw Brittany at the Parafest. That was she was there with us yesterday. That was amazing. Jason Marble, we saw you there yesterday too. Thank you so much for everybody that came out for the Parafest. It was fun. It was a good time. It's the first time that we actually took Paratalk Radio there, and I thought that was a blast.
Oh gosh, it was so much fun.
To take and do the live thing right there in the middle of the Parafest was amazing. It was a good time.
I kind of missed our boy in the box and our fireplace.
Yeah, I know.
Darth Vader, but
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, it was fun. So, what it was? Oh, and Kathy, who owns the Virgin House, is on here, and she said there's also quicksand in the swamp, so you got to be careful there. So,
gee.
Allegheny alligator is what they call that creature.
Huh.
Allegheny alligator.
Yeah, I think she sent me a link. I'll have to look at it after the shows.
And she said it had something to do with when the glacier originally came through or something. I don't know. I can't.
And my boyfriend's viewing. Hey, baby.
Oh, stop.
You cute.
Uh-oh.
No, she's talking to her boyfriend.
This one's for you.
Yeah. So, I have to say that, it's... I've been wanting to talk to you for a while about, your take on the whole thing with ghost hunting and the places that you went, the locations and stuff. And what is your favorite location? I mean, is there one place that you would continue to go back over and over and over again because you just love it that much?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places like that I would go over and over again. A lot of them I do. All for different reasons. Waverly Hills, I think I've been there probably 14 or 15 times.
Wow.
And I'll always go back there. Of course, Eastern State Penitentiary, Stanley Hotel.
Yeah.
All these places. St. Augustine Lighthouse, I've been over a dozen times. A lot of places I will definitely return. But I will say, that Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky, time and time again, just continuously knocks my socks off. And, I say it so much that people, I feel like, may think I'm somewhat involved or get a spokesperson fee or something. But I am not affiliated with that place whatsoever. I just love it. And, I mean, I'm great friends with, Tina, the owner, and the staff, all great people. And, she credits, luckily us, with a lot of the notoriety of Waverly, that sort of thing. But just every single time that I go there, there's activity, there's fun, there's history, there's everything you could want in a haunted place is there. Without, the only thing that it's missing is the element of, helping somebody. You go investigate Waverly Hills, you're doing it to further the field, you're doing it to have experiences, you're doing it that sort of, but you're not really helping anybody. Tina has that place, and her and her staff, they're investigators. They don't need help to investigate the building. They're not looking for answers. They're not afraid. So you're not necessarily helping somebody. You're literally just going there to investigate, have a great time, and have experiences. But I'd say in the country that's my go-to place that I will go to as much as I can. And there's a place in town, actually. I live in Springfield, Massachusetts. Well, right outside. I live in Palmer. But Springfield, there's a place called Theodore's, the restaurant. And, I'm there when I'm home. I'm there every week, gosh. And it's supposedly haunted. I've only done 2 investigations there. I'd like to do more, but it's a building that I'm in almost every week, to be honest with you. But Waverly Hills, I think, is probably my go-to. The Birdcage Theater is a place I want to get back to. I've only investigated there once.
That's like one of my destination, like on my bucket list.
Your bucket list,
to go to Tombstone, and go to the Birdcage.
Oh, do it. It's a super fun town, dangerous town. I tell you what, crazy stuff goes down in that town, things that you wouldn't believe. When we were there, I witnessed with my own eyes 3 separate stabbings.
What?
Very intense. One of them, Grant, I had to almost jump in and break it up. A guy stabbed his wife right in front of us, which was kind of crazy.
What?
Wow.
There's just
but
crazy
yeah,
people there?
so be careful.
Live there.
But if you stay right on, in the historic Tombstone where the police are and all that stuff, you'll be fine.
They have like old school law there, like this town ain't big enough.
There
for
is some
both
old
of
school
us.
law.
Michelle, she finally answered. She said he was drunk on Appletinis at the Stanley event, having a good time. Walked 2 young ladies on his arm. Walked into the dark billiard room. I jumped out and said, "Is there anyone in here?"
Oh, there's more. Hold on. Really loud.
Really loud. He jumped a mile and then introduced himself. "Hi, I'm Steve. I laughed so hard. Sorry, long time."
Sorry, a long one.
I see. Well, the story started good. I mean, he walked off with 2 young ladies into a dark ballroom, and then the story got a little. But I like where it was headed. Anyway, just kidding. I actually remember that day. I don't remember being scared, but I know exactly what she's talking about. There was an event there, and I was drinking apple martinis, and I didn't quite take into consideration the altitude difference, and it hit me. And I remember one of our producers at Ghost Hunters at the time, because we were doing a Q&A in front of, it was an event, and I think they sold it out to like 400 people or whatever. They can pack a lot of people into Waverly, into the Stanley Hotel. And I was probably slurring at the microphone or something. I don't know, but I remember our producer at the time just walked up and took my drink away and was like, "You don't need this anymore." And I was like, "Hey." And then I think one of our camera operators got attacked by an elk that night.
Oh my God!
And then I passed out and woke up the next day and kind of mad because I missed the rest of the party. Yeah.
No, I have to.
I remember that night though.
I have to bring this up because I remember the episode where one of the camera guys actually got attacked. I'm trying to remember. His bag hit him in the face.
Yeah. That was at the New Bedford Armory.
Yes, the
Armory. That was in season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was intense. That was a gentleman. He was a sound operator, actually, a sound guy. And he didn't believe in this kind of stuff, didn't believe in the paranormal. And not that he would make fun of us, but especially during season 1, people really didn't know that this sort of thing happened. Even our own production crew, this is their first time ever knowing that people did this kind of thing. Like, they came from shows where they were making cars, or, a couple of them came from the Chopper show, whatever that, Orange County, whatever it was.
Yeah, Orange County Choppers, yeah.
They didn't know of the ghost world. So not that they would make fun of us, because they were very respectful, but they would have no problem being like, come on, guys, you're really, like, what's going on, And he was one of those, everything we would sort of think we saw, he would just, kind of downplay it on us and that sort of thing. But this time, he, whatever it was, the bag, for those of you who haven't seen, the sound operator is just there with his boom mic, and the bag lifts, his sound bag, which, mind you, is a good 50 or 60 pounds. It's not just a light piece of equipment, rose up and knocked him under his chin, and he went flying back. And, one thing they didn't, I think they showed him tear up a little bit, but what they didn't show is he was literally on the ground crying for about an hour and a half.
My gosh.
And there's a 50-year-old man just in tears for over an hour, not believing what it was that he saw or experienced. And then he was a different person. He wouldn't go in the dark by himself. He had to have the lights on. He wouldn't go anywhere alone when he was working, like on a case with us. He had to always have someone else with him. And then he quit. He couldn't, not that he couldn't handle it. He's a grown man. I'm sure he could handle it. But he told us, guys, I'm not comfortable anymore. This has changed basically my views on life and religion and all this crazy stuff, which to me, I don't think there's a separation. I think religion and paranormal go quite hand in hand. But for him, it posed a lot of questions and really messed with his head. And he quit, just like a week later. He didn't want anything to do with it.
Wow.
But that was,
Well, he probably came from one of those shows, too, where, he was filming and it was like cars and, you were talking about cars and Orange County Choppers, and he's thinking he's all tough going in the dark and everything. And then he actually gets the experience and then it hit him. That's crazy. Wow.
Yep. That was, really scared him. And we put the thermal camera on him, and you could see, right where the heat was, where the bag hit him and sort of inflamed all the tissue under his chin there.
That poor guy. What a horrible first real experience.
Yeah, yeah. Man, it was amazing.
I know.
So,
poor guy.
Well, believe it or not, it's time. It's been a great show tonight. I want to say thank you, Steve, for joining us. It was amazing.
Yeah.
The stories and finally having you here.
I was really looking forward to this. It was a great time.
Yeah,
Whoa! My pleasure. Thank you, both of you. They're a lot of fun. And anytime. We're always around to talk and hang out and chat.
Right.
Especially if
that's awesome.
Ghosts.
Well, it's nice to have, real people that can sit down and chat with us and, don't think that, I don't know, stuff like this. These shows are awesome because you get to, the people that, how do you want to put it? The fans get to sit down and chat and ask questions and get to really know you for you and not just on TV or, stuff like that. So, we thank you again for coming on and joining us. So it's awesome. Maybe the next time you can get Tango to do it with you, and we'll have a really cool show there too, and get the two of you together. It'll be fun.
Tango, Tango, I'll do anything with Tango. If he would do it, you'll have a blast.
$20.
Tango isn't.
Give him $20.
Many of the radio. Oh yeah, I'd have to pay him. He'll do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, Steve. I want to thank everybody for joining us here on Paratalk Radio. It's been a great show, and we're going to break into this cake. And it's too bad you're not here to get this cake, Steve, because it's a great-looking cake. But
wow, way to tempt him.
He can. He's on his
Thanks
diet.
for rubbing it in.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, all right. Well, we'll see you around. I mean, we'll be at a couple of the same events this year, and I'll finally get to meet you in person, which would be great. And
all right. I'll be there.
And we'll send you the info on the Virgin House in Hinsdale and all that stuff, and maybe someday we'll see it in one of those locations too. That would be cool. So
great.
All
Sounds
right.
good. Thanks so much.
Thanks again, Steve. We really appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thank you again for joining us here at Paratalk Radio. You can check out the live feed. Actually, that'll be a video that'll be on paratalkradio.com here by the end of the week. And I don't know. It was just a great night. It was fun. So.
Yeah.
All right. Remember, guys, wherever there is darkness, there is always delight.
Ouija board cakes.
You've been listening to Paranormal Talk right here on Paratalkradio.com. Catch us again next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Central, where we will bring you another fantastic guest. Thank you again to our sponsors and J. Wolf Productions. Be safe, be good. Until next time, remember, wherever there is darkness, there is always delight. Paratalkradio.com.